Hi guys, here's Krystian from Monster Hunter Teamwork Podcast, and I'm here with a wonderful special guest to discuss a game that we've been playing recently, which is Ragnarok Odyssey. And with me today is Brad Gallaway from GameCritics.com.
Hey, Krystian, thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for being with us here today. So, as I said, we've both been playing Ragnarok Odyssey recently, and people said that it's, the rumors are that it is supposed to be like this kind of Monster Hunter for the Vita, or Monster Hunter replacement for the Vita, and we wanted to kind of discuss a little bit, or to talk about, how the game relates to Monster Hunter, and generally, if the game is something that people should check out.
Absolutely.
So maybe to start it off, Brad, what is your opinion of the game in general?
Well, I've been on your show before, and it was a thrill for me, so I'm very happy to be back, first of all. So thanks for having me on again. And as you know, I am definitely a Monster Hunter fan. Maybe not as hardcore as you guys on the podcast, because you guys are world-class, but I do my best, and I am a fan. So when approaching a game that in some ways tries to be Monster Hunter, of course I'm going to compare it to the original. I mean, how can you not? And
yeah.
So I guess let me say two things. On the one hand, comparing it to Monster Hunter, it does not compare favorably. It's a pretty poor imitation. And on the other hand, looking at it as a game unto itself, I still think it's a pretty poor game. So I actually don't like it very much.
Yeah, we've been already discussing it a little bit. So you didn't come off with too favorable impression of the game. So what were your main problems that you had with the game?
I think overall, I think it's just a very shallow experience. I guess I'm a little bit prejudiced because coming from Monster Hunter, I'm used to playing something that's so large and so deep and has so much detail. So I think anything really pales by comparison. But in general, just looking at it, I think the combat is very, very shallow. It feels like a very simplistic button masher to me. I'm also a person who really likes to play dress up with the armor and skills and things like that. And I felt like it was very shallow when it came to the skills and the armor, so that was very disappointing. I think the overall game design in general, it's funny to me because it seems like the people who designed this game looked at Monster Hunter, and it's like they kind of recognize the elements that are in Monster Hunter, but they don't understand how they work. And so it's almost like it's dressed up like Monster Hunter, but once the clothes come off, it's something totally different underneath, and that's kind of a scary picture.
So, I'm a game designer myself, so I would like to go a little bit more into detail and kind of try to put my finger on some of the things, because I kind of generally I agree with your impression. It's not as, if you compare it to Monster Hunter, it just doesn't hold up very well. But I wouldn't be maybe too harsh with the game. I was kind of experimenting a little bit, and I found some redeeming qualities. I think with the game, I'm going to try. I don't know. I'm still kind of on the edge. I'm kind of trying to form a very founded opinion here. So maybe starting out with a combat. You said it felt very shallow to you. I was wondering, what kind of weapon did you choose?
I started off with the greatsword, I guess it would be. So the standard first class, the greatsword. That was okay, and there seemed to be a couple little dial combos, but nothing that really seemed to have any meat to it. It didn't really matter what I was doing. It seemed like if I mashed on the button, everything worked out fine, and there weren't any particular strikes that I found. It just seemed to, basically mash a button and that's it. I also tried the archer, which I did not like at all. I was really puzzled by the archer. I didn't try it for very long, admittedly, but I tried it, and it seemed really underpowered, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it. So I switched and I tried the hammer, the drill hammer. And that was okay. I mean, it was a generic heavy hit, but it was really slow. And again, it didn't feel like there was anything special to it. It just did a lot more damage, and it was a lot slower. It almost seemed like the fundamentals of the game didn't change depending on the weapon. It just kind of tweaked the damage levels and the speed at which you attacked. So,
yeah, that's something that really disappointed me. So the way I did it is I started with a magician. Actually, I really wanted to try something really crazy, and there was no magic in Monster Hunter, so I tried a magician. And I was super disappointed because she actually is a melee kind of weapon guy, so you kind of mash with your staff, and depending on what kind of combo you execute, she sometimes has some special attack which has some magic powers to it, but it's not like you're selecting magic spells, you know.
Yeah.
And then I switched over to, and she was actually very difficult for me. So I was kind of having a very hard time. I was actually forced to really learn the combo system, because there's like lots of different combos in the game actually. Like you're usually mashing the attack button. And there's like a heavy attack button, and the heavy attack button exits you out of the combo. And depending on where you exit from the combo, you execute a totally different attack. And especially like for the magician class, it just, you had like a huge arsenal of moves available, just depending on where you would where you would exit the combo.
Exactly. I found that was kind of true with the archer too. It was like if you just did the regular attack, it was just like infinitesimal amounts of damage, like 1 and 2 points of damage, which was ridiculous. Whereas with the sword, you'd be doing something like 150 or 200 comparatively. But then it was just like you said, if you exited the combo with the heavy attack, sometimes it would be like a rain of arrows, or sometimes it would be like a different kind of, it seemed almost like a magic spell, honestly. It didn't seem like a regular like bow attack. But to me, that wasn't very satisfying, because essentially you're just mashing buttons again. I mean, you're doing combo. And, it didn't seem to be a lot of skill in that. I mean, sure, skill in that you have to know when to exit the combo to get the move that you want, but essentially you're still just like this monkey at the keyboard, you're just hammering it away, and it didn't seem to me very thoughtful.
Yeah, and the thing that I really found so disappointing a little bit when I switched over to the greatsword, that was actually much more button mashery, because you're dealing so much damage, you don't have to deal with the combos. You can just mash your way through enemies. And the most infuriating thing is that you had like exactly the same kind of system. So it's exactly the same thing. You're mashing your attack button, and you exit the combo with a heavy attack to get some special attacks. So actually the way the weapon feel doesn't really change at all. Whereas in Monster Hunter, when you have a different weapon, the game feels completely different. Like if you have a great sword, you're a completely different kind of, you're engaging in a completely different kind of combat system than when you have a sword and shield, for example.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that to me was one of the very first things I noticed was like, I mean, the classes should be quite different. I mean, even in other games, not quite Monster Hunter level, but in other games, when you switch weapon, like it often feels pretty different. Your strategies change, the way that you approach the game changes. And in this one, like I said, it felt like it didn't really matter what weapon I was using. The only variable was how much damage and then how much I had to depend on the combos. I mean, if you can interchange a bow for a hammer, that to me makes no sense at all.
Yeah, that's especially. I haven't tried the bow yet, but from what you said, I mean, that's really. I would expect the bow to be especially like the different kind of thing, because the bow gun in Monster Hunter is like so different from the rest of the weapons. It's you could almost call it a very different game.
Oh, exactly. But yeah, I was quite disappointed. I was shocked, actually. Shocked.
Yeah, that's kind of very weird. But I've been playing through the missions, and especially like with the greatsword. Like because at some point I just put a podcast on, and I was just mashing through the enemies, and then if this kind of repetitive grindy playstyle is something that really that is up your alley, there might be something in the game for you to latch on to, perhaps. But it's very repetitive. It's that's also one of the other things I realized, that not only is like the combat itself feels same no matter what kind of weapon you choose. Like the actual missions you receive are often about just killing 20 monsters or 30 monsters of a certain type.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I've heard some people level that same argument against Monster Hunter and saying that it feels repetitive, and I can understand that argument from a certain degree. But, I mean, to me, the missions in Monster Hunter, I mean, usually are just about killing a monster, and those monsters are usually so tough that it's very exciting and very visceral, and, when you beat something that's really tough, like, it gives you a real rush because you feel like you really did it. But in this game, in Ragnarok Odyssey, there are big bosses, but, I mean, they're not as plentiful as I would like. I mean, I almost wish the game had a lot more of them, because I think that would have been more interesting. But, like you said, it is extremely repetitive. When I went through... every mission felt like every other mission. It was like kill, X number of enemies or collect X number of things, but you can only collect those things by killing enemies, and so it might as well have said kill enemies again for all the missions. And as I went through, it was just really boring. I mean, I'm mashing the buttons, I'm killing these monsters, but nothing's really happening. I mean, they're dropping some items, but I wasn't getting any of the kind of items that I needed to build or create the gear that I wanted to create, so it felt like I was not really getting any rewards. You don't get experience for the kills, and so it's not like I was advancing my character. And then, I eventually got to a level of quests where it's like, kill 80 enemies of this one type. And I'm like, 80? Are you kidding me? Like, and it's not even just that those enemies are in the level. It's like there's other enemies in the level as well. So it's like 80 plus whatever else is there if you take the time to kill all that stuff. Although, honestly, there's no reason to kill anything except your goal because you don't profit from it. So there's not even a feeling of progression as you're killing and grinding,
I noticed that something interesting about the mission structure, especially when talking about this, kill 80 enemies. The goal of those levels was often to get to a certain area where there was like a huge group of those enemies, and that's where you would get your 80 kills. But this, for me, this made like the entire level feel incredibly linear, because it was all about just getting to this one area. And often you would have to, the area would be locked, so you would have to kill other enemies to unlock this area. But it would always just boil down to, go to the same path as you did in a previous mission, kill all the enemies on your path to unlock the final area, to get to the final area, to kill the 80 enemies there. It could be, you could perform any kind of action there, and it will always kind of probably boil down to kill 80 enemies or kill the enemies that are in the final area.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And that's one element of the design that I really dislike. I mean, you get into these giant kill boxes and it's just this mash fest. I mean, killing that many enemies, it's just really disappointing because it again kind of reinforces the button mashing aspect. When you're in a room and there's 20 or 30 monsters swarming around you, you don't really have the opportunity to do anything strategic. I mean, you're just there. You're trying to keep the guys off you. You're getting hit from behind. I mean, they're swirling all around you. And you're just, mashing and mashing and mashing and dashing and getting out of the way and hoping you can, outlast the guys. And that kind of design to me is not very thoughtful. It's not very deep. It doesn't really feel satisfying. I mean, I would rather fight one monster that I really have to take my time with and really, use some tactics and use the environment and kind of get the advantage rather than just go into this big box where I'm just swinging my sword around like crazy. And that, it's funny because the developers seem to really have a fetish for that kill box thing because, as you mentioned, as you're trying to get to the area that is full of the monster that you're after, along the way, these little energy barriers will pop up and trap the player. I hate that. I absolutely hate that because the game is not hard until you get into one of these little kill boxes, and once you're locked in this room, all of a sudden you're swarmed from all sides, and that's the only time I ever have any difficulties because you're overwhelmed with sheer numbers, and that to me is that's not a very satisfying game experience.
Yeah. It's like get through all the series of small kill boxes to get to the big kill box.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the thing is, I kind of thought about it a little bit, and you have these kind of missions in Monster Hunter as well. I mean, there's like the early missions are like to kill 20 Jaggies or something like this. But I always feel like even Monster Hunter has first of all, it has like so many things that you can do in an environment other than killing stuff. You can gather resources. You can, like, all the animals in the world also seem kind of like they seem to be alive in this world. They eat stuff, they drink, they inhabit certain areas. So you have to know that they are in those areas, and you have to kind of find them or stuff like that, Or they're like in herds, and when you kill one of them, they start to flee. They seem to be organic and like believable, and it's just like the living world you interact with, where you just happen to solve one of the many things that you can do, perform one of the many actions that you can do in this world. And that's like totally not what Ragnarok Odyssey is about. It's just a series of rooms filled with random monsters.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, that's always been one of the things that really fascinated me the most about Monster Hunter, was they seem to put so much time and effort into like this fictional ecology. I mean, they even have the ecology videos where they show you what this creature would look like in the wild if you were observing them on a documentary that would be on Discovery Channel or something. I thought that was fascinating that they took the time to make those videos, and they're really high quality videos. They're awesome. I love those videos. And so it just shows to me that they really thought about the world as this holistic reality, like you said, with the hunter kind of entering and gathering and kind of observing the different species and seeing this quasi-natural behavior. Whereas in Ragnarok Odyssey, it's literally like this really generic, shallow RPG grinding where you just go in, monsters are walking around in a circle, they don't even seem to be even like monsters, they're just kind of randomly thrown into the environment, and you hit one, and they don't flee or do any kind of realistic behavior, they just they either continue walking in the circle or they come after you directly, but it doesn't feel as though you're actually in this area. Like, it's funny because the game is kind of set up to copy Monster Hunter very literally in many ways. I mean, in Ragnarok Odyssey, you start off being in this fort, and this fort is like the only bastion between, I guess, civilization and the wild, which is out there past it. And that's something that's very true in Monster Hunter. When you go to the village, it's very often on the outskirts of the wilderness. Hunters are here to take advantage of whatever's in the wild there. And it's like I didn't get that sense at all. I didn't feel like it's a real environment. I didn't feel like I was really serving any purpose. Killing these monsters didn't feel even remotely natural at all. It literally felt like a series of really cheap RPG encounters where I'm just grinding and grinding and grinding and not even getting the benefit of grinding, which was ridiculous.
I think that you put it quite well, that where they copied Monster Hunter like in general, but they didn't copy like the little details that really make Monster Hunter work, as opposed to other games of this type. For example, like little details like when you get, like in Monster Hunter you have to carve the enemies. Like after you defeat them, you get the items by carving them.
Absolutely.
And that's what you could say, that it's kind of like a superfluous kind of action that you have to do all the time. But it kind of feels much more real this way, because you're actually getting the cars out of the defeated enemy.
It's so satisfying too. Don't
yes,
you think?
yes. The sound is great.
Absolutely.
You're like ripping stuff from them,
right?
And it also. And it like focuses totally on the action of getting the loot. It's like because you also get like the psychological reward. Yes, I'm getting more loot, more stuff to play with. So it's like this incredibly rewarding experience action. And in Ragnarok Odyssey, you also get loot, but it's like there are like items, and you have to just go next to them, and they just get like sucked into your character without you having perform any action. You just don't have to touch any button; they just get sucked into you.
Yeah, and it's like even they're gems or something. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, it's like some general like icons, objects. Sometimes you get a weapon, but it's like a standard icon of a sword, and that's just general weapon, and you don't know what kind of weapon it is until you come back and look at what items you got.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. The loot system is thoroughly unsatisfying. Maybe we should talk about that for a minute, because I think that's one of the biggest places where they just outright copied Monster Hunter, but then again displayed their complete lack of understanding or lack of ability to kind of even emulate that. Because when you get out into the hub world, which again is a straight up copy of Monster Hunter, even to the tavern and stuff like that, you talk to these craftspeople and they say, oh, well, bring me XYZ number of materials and I can make you this thing. And I think, oh, okay, well, this seems very similar to Monster Hunter. I understand how this works. That's fine. But you don't really know exactly where to get the pieces you want. I mean, I think I played the game for 8 hours, and I wanted to make the one of the starting helmets, and I still don't even know where to get the material to get the stuff to make the starting helmet. It's like ridiculous. But I mean, outside of that, once I finally did make some stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, well, not nearly as many options. I mean, you get like the one-piece suit, like you get like the shirt and the boots and everything is all just kind of one piece. And then a helmet, and that was kind of disappointing, because I like to do the mix and matching, and you kind of design your character how you like. But okay, whatever, that's fine. But then it's funny because there's no real reason to wear any one suit over the other, because I guess you can just interchange the skills that come on that suit. And so it's like it's all cosmetic. Like there's no real satisfaction in saying, oh, I just made this helmet, and this helmet gives me +2 attack, and now I'm that much tougher, and I notice that when I kill these monsters, my attack hits that much harder. That's what Monster Hunter is great at doing, because it gives you that instant gratification for all the hard work you just put in. And this one, it's like, why should I even bother? I could be wearing the first starting clothes, and as long as I have enough skill slots to equip some skills, it doesn't really matter what I wear. Like, and so that it's so empty feeling to me.
I was wondering. I was kind of trying to. Maybe I missed it, but it seems to me like the different armors don't even have like different defense stats. Is that possible?
As far as I can tell, they don't have any defense stats, and
so it's really just the skills that are equipped on the armors.
Yeah, and then you can even remove the skills. I mean, apparently somebody had told me that once you get further into the game, certain pieces of armor have some skills that you cannot de-equip from them, which I guess would kind of give you a reason to wear one piece of armor over another, but I haven't gotten that far yet, and everything I've seen so far, like you said, there's no defense, there's no attributes to any of the armor that you get. You can simply buy this piece of armor, you remove the skill that it has, and you can put it on any other piece of armor, so you might as well be buying the skill itself.
Yeah, that's kind of like I generally I found like all the loot. Like for example, I mean we haven't played through the entire game. I played 2. I'm like in the middle of the 3-star quests right now, so to speak. And until the point where I'm here, I used 2 weapons. Like the starting weapon I had, and then at some point upgraded to a different weapon. And then I think the starting weapon I maybe upgraded once, like to improve its power, like +1 or something.
Right.
But if I was playing Monster Hunter at this point, that would be maybe like my 3rd armor set, and maybe my 5th weapon or so, which looks completely different, or it's completely different than the weapon I started out with. I would be already have amassed like interesting arsenal of gear and equipment for me to use and experiment with, and something that feels genuinely different and like an improvement from what I was started out with. And this kind of feeling just doesn't exist in Ragnarok Odyssey. And even if you get new stuff, you don't really feel encouraged to use it, and there seems to be no good reason to use it. Like the new weapons you get have like only just a tiny amount more of damage, or even they don't really have more damage than what you use. Just maybe some random skills that you don't even need.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny you mention that because so like I said, I'm about 8 hours into the game. I'm still using my starting sword. I have upgraded it like a couple times. I think maybe 3 or 4 times, and everything I'm finding is not worth me switching to because it's weaker and it has no other attributes to it that are worth using. So, I mean, in a game of this sort where ostensibly the goal is to collect loot and change items and build items and stuff, that's a hardcore fail right there. If I'm using the starting sword 8 hours after starting your game, well then your loot system is broken. That just doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
Brad, a small interruption. There's some kind of weird noise coming through the line. I don't know if that's the microphone or if that's some kind of disturbance.
I don't hear anything. What does it sound like?
It's like if wind is blowing into your microphone.
Interesting.
Can you maybe try the cable or something? That's maybe some kind of.
Yeah, let me check real quick.
Oh, it's better. Yeah, that was better. That's fixed it.
Oh, I think my plug was loose. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, great. Sorry about it.
No problem. I'm gonna put something to sleep. Right. So yeah, speaking of the skill system, there's an interesting skill system in there. In Monster Hunter you have like skills are attached to armor. So you have to equip armor, and then that's how you get your skills. In Ragnarok Odyssey, you don't really have this way, but you have like cards, and the skills are equipped on the individual cards, and the cards are put into your armor, and each armor can hold a certain amount of cards, or has space for cards. Some cards take more space, so some cards take less space. So you kind of have to figure out which cards do you want to have in this armor. And so what I found is that, first of all, you have such a huge amount of cards to pick from very early on. And all of the skills seem like so insignificant to you. Like there's something that improves the way your stamina replenishes. But I never found myself in a position where my stamina would be very low. So, or like some other skills like prevent stagger damage. But I haven't found myself in a situation where I stagger very often. So all those things felt so inconsequential for me to equip. So experimenting with the system didn't feel very, very rewarding or important. And because there was so many things to choose from, there was like this, how will you call it? Like inflation of skills somehow. Like there's no real value to the skills. Like skills are everywhere, and sometimes skills are attached to weapons even, and sometimes skills are there. It's like, yeah, whatever, just throw it all in there. I don't even care. I'm just gonna mash some buttons anyway. It's not like something will change about the way I play the game.
Exactly. That is it exactly. I totally agree, and I think in your stats inflation or whatever, the cards inflation, I think that's a hilarious way to put it, because I totally agree. I mean, I had so many cards, and yet when I looked at them all, like it was all any possible benefit was just so small. I didn't really bother with them. I picked, I think something that was like a health boost or something, and once I equipped it, I just forgot about it. I didn't really have to ever come back to it. Didn't have to pay any attention to it. I didn't notice any significant bonus. I mean, it's not like I put a card on and then all of a sudden went, wow, this made a big difference, and now I play so much better. It might as well have not even existed. It didn't really have an effect on me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in Monster Hunter, I feel like there's also one other thing that kind of I feel like in Monster Hunter is like visually very distinct. Like when you pick a different weapon, it looks different. You can immediately tell what monster it comes from, or if you wear different armor, you immediately look totally different, and the armor has like visual qualities that you can tell that this part maybe comes from the feather of this monster or something like this. And that's just not present at all. And like you equip those cards, but they're not visible. And even like the icons in the menu, like they're all the same icon.
Yeah.
So it's just so easy to mix them up. You can like press in some menu, you can look at the cards. They show like high resolution pictures of what the card shows, but you have to go through some kind of menu until you see it. It's not like in the tiny icons in the menu management system. So it all feels like very same-ish, like even on a visual level.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because I mean, if you ask me, Capcom, well, okay. So Capcom is not a perfect company. I mean, I have a few issues with Capcom for sure. But in the history of video gaming, I might have been playing for, I mean, probably close to 25 or 30 years now. I mean, they have consistently been one of my favorite developers. And I think that the reason for that is because they put such a high premium on artistic quality. I mean, no matter what game you're playing, they have some of the best artists in the field. I mean, their artists are phenomenal. And I think that Monster Hunter is one of the perfect places where you can observe this. I mean, just like you said, you can easily tell what somebody is wearing or what somebody's using just by looking at it. And I think that's part of the appeal to me is just some of that stuff looks so cool. Like you just want to have it. I mean,
yeah.
When I saw some of the dragon armor, what's the name of that dragon? The dragon at the end of Freedom Unite, the black,
Fatalis, yes.
The first time I saw the Fatalis armor, I was like, oh my god, that looks so amazing. I have to have that. And it looked so great. Like I went through all the motions and I eventually got the black Fatalis armor that I wanted. And it was like a journey, it was like this big deal. And I was so happy that, the armor sucks, but it was great that I got it. And it was beautiful, it's so cool. But then like in Ragnarok, I mean, I don't even know how many swords and they all look the same. Like they all literally look like the same sword, and they couldn't even change any of the way the swords look. And if the swords feel the same, and if they look the same, then my God, what is the point to even having all those different swords? They might as well not even have them in the game.
Yeah. Like on so many levels, like the icons in the menu look the same. When you equip the sword, the 3D model of the sword looks the same, and the way the sword behaves in the game feels the same. Even like a sword feels the same as a hammer in some regard. It's like the same button system. So it's like. It's like that's where I guess maybe the feeling of repetitiveness comes.
I just don't understand where they expect a player to get a sense of satisfaction. I mean, are we supposed to be satisfied with the change in numerical value, and not really put any premium on the artistic quality, the visual quality, the tactile, kinetic quality? I mean, everything it seems so shallow and so small and so limited, and to make a game which so clearly is copying Monster Hunter in so many ways. It's funny because my review hasn't gone up yet. I actually just finished it a couple days ago. I'm not going to complete the game. There's no point as far as I can tell. So I'm just going to put it as an incomplete review. But to me, it's like it's difficult to create a game which follows in the footsteps of another game. That's a good one. And then not only that, but to follow in the footsteps of a game that sets the bar for all other games. I mean, you've got to have balls to try that. And these guys are clearly trying to swipe for Monster Hunter, and they're not even close. They are not even in the same ballpark. The audacity of these guys to put this game out, it really kind of blew me away.
Maybe like one of the final big topics in this comparison would be like to look at, because one of the things that makes Monster Hunter really so significant is the battle against the large monsters, like the long, large battles. And Ragnarok Odyssey does focus, at least at the beginning, seems to focus very much on those repetitive kill 20 little monsters quests. But eventually there are some big battles. So what was your experience with the big monsters?
I gotta say it was pretty disappointing. I didn't get the feeling. You too, I guess.
I recognize a theme here.
Yeah, I hate to sound like a broken record, but yeah, I mean it was really disappointing. I was finally excited, like you said, to finally get to something a little meatier, something a little more visually impressive, something a little more exciting. And when I get there, it's just like a very standard. The monster does this attack after this animation, but it wasn't fast. It didn't feel exciting or like really action-packed the way that some really good Monster Hunter battles can. It didn't feel as though I was battling this creature. It kind of felt like he was like the big orc king or whatever. Like
Yes,
he's just
yes.
walking around in a circle, and it's like, okay, he's going to raise his arms, so that means he's going to do the flaming punch thing. So I just move, and I just, I chip away at him from behind. I didn't feel like any of my strikes were really causing him any damage or anything, and he fell over dead, and I was like, oh, is that it? Oh, okay, I guess.
It felt very, very. They feel a little bit bullet sponges, I guess the right term. Like you can hit him very often, and there is no penalty for going like for an all-in attack almost often.
Yeah, and it was funny because you can target multiple parts of the monster, which I thought was great. I mean, I think that's something I really like. But it didn't seem to do anything. Like I tried to target one of his arms, I think, because I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to try to cripple this arm, and maybe that'll change his attacks. And nothing happened. And then I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work. I'll go for some headshots, and maybe I'll blind him or stagger him or something. Okay, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. So what's the point of targeting the different parts? I don't understand.
I found one aspect of the fight with the big monsters interesting, and is that it seems to me, I'm not really sure, maybe I didn't got something right, but there seems to be like the way in Monster Hunter monsters get enraged, they get faster or get different attacks. Mm-hmm. They have this kind of similar system here, but it seems to me like the further the battle progresses, the monster kind of gets like unlocks like a new level of moves or like a new level of development, I guess. So at the beginning, the monster is like normal and walks around. Then once you hit him, he does something, or once you hit him a certain amount of times, he kind of like freaks out, and there is a new attack that he's able to do then, and then this continues again, and then there is like in the next level of then the new attack comes in that he can do from now on. So I kind of like this like staged kind of monster battle that escalates more and more, and the monster gets more extreme and more desperate in some regard. It was still kind of. Maybe it was also because first of all, all the monster fights seems to be taking in just one area.
Yeah.
So there's no like monster fleeing and you have to catch them up with them or something like that. And there's also no like items that you can use to interact differently with a monster with just other than just hitting. So it's not like you can in Monster Hunter you can like use a flash bomb and then the monster gets blinded or something, or you can use a trap to trap the monster, or or a dung bomb or something or you can use a paintball to find out where he is so you can track him easily. There's just so many things you can think about and experiment with to kind of make the battle against this monster like varied and interesting. Like different things can happen, or you can try different things.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I think that's just the general problem with this game overall, is that it's going for something which it's not able to deliver. And it's funny because I actually got into a discussion with a fellow reviewer who said that I hadn't put enough time into the game, and I said, well, maybe that is possibly true. I'm not going to argue that point. I mean, clearly this is going to probably be a very, 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 very long game, is what my guess is. But my gut is telling me that I'm not really going to see much progression. And it's funny because, and they said, well, that's not fair. You can't review Monster Hunter after 8 hours. And I said, well, that's very true. But at the same time, after you play Monster Hunter for 8 hours, I think anybody with, eyes that work and a brain that functions will be able to say, hey, there's all these things that I'm seeing, these little bits of information, there's all these little clues that there's more beneath the surface, there's, all these different things that I want to investigate that maybe I don't understand when I first begin the game, but I have this internal goal for myself. Like, I want to discover what this power does, or this armor looks really like a good fit for me. I want to try to shoot for that and try to get that and see how that changes my game. I like this weapon, or I don't like this weapon. I'm going to try a different weapon, and oh wow, this weapon feels totally different. I'm going to explore this a little bit more. So even though I don't think that anybody could really do a decent review to the depth of Monster Hunter in 8 hours, I think that after that long, you can really get a sense for how much is there, or how much you may not be seeing or may not be understanding. And by comparison with Ragnarok Odyssey, I mean, literally, after 2 hours, I was like, is there anything else to this game? Is there anything else to find out? And, as I was asking this person who was kind of chiding me for not putting enough time, I said, well, what's different? What changes? And he said, well, nothing. And I said, shut up. If nothing changes, then why are you getting on my case about not playing it long enough? You just made my point for me. But, yeah, there's no sense of depth. Like, I don't get the feeling that there's more to discover. I feel like all its tricks are played out in the first couple hours.
Well, we've been very negative about this game so far. There's one thing what I got a little bit of hopes that maybe the game will be able to deliver a little bit more variation. And have you got to this part where this special mode is unlocked? This blood mode, or I don't know what's the name for it.
Oh yeah, it's the one where you go into like a frenzy and you.
Yes, the frenzy thing. Yes,
I forget the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So the idea is that you that there is like an icon on the screen. Actually, that's again something that I found actually quite interesting. That there are not only the buttons you do press on the on the Vita, but there's actually on the touch screen there are like buttons you can press additionally. So you can use those to drink potions, or you can there's actually a button to activate this frenzy mode, and there's like a meter that goes up as you kill enemies or collect like red gems. And once the meter is full, you can start this rage mode, and then your life is constantly decreasing. But every time you kill an enemy or hit an enemy, the life is being replenished. So if you are in the middle of a fight and there are a lot of enemies around you, then and you are able to deal a lot of hits in a very short amount of time, then you can actually heal yourself this way. But if you use it like in the wrong time, where there are not many enemies, or when you defeat the enemies very quickly and there are no more enemies coming in, then you can lose your life very quickly, and that can be potentially quite devastating. So there's like more like a risk-reward kind of thing, and also, of course, the rage mode or the frenzy mode increases your movement speed and the damage you do and all that stuff. So it kind of feels like this it's power move, special attack kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. I do agree. I think that was an interesting thing to add, and I think that goes hand in hand with their kill box philosophy, since they clearly know they're going to be sticking you in a room where you're going to be overwhelmed, so give you something to counteract that. And it's perfect for those, like those rooms where you're just swarmed with enemies. All you have to do is start mashing the button, and like you said, I use it to refill my life too. If you use it in the right spot, instead of draining your life, it just fills your life back up because you're dealing so much damage. It was kind of disappointing to find that every single character has that same move. I was hoping it would be at first only like the greatsword user or something, a melee user, but then everybody's got it, and that again the enemies are the weapons all feel the same, and it kind of takes away from the unique design of each character. But go ahead. Sorry.
In this part, you can make like exactly the comparison to like the twin blades, like double sword in Monster Hunter, where you also have like a gauge, but it's just for this specific weapon, and no other weapon has this. And the other weapons have different kind of gimmicks or special gadgets that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I think at its core, they really need to vary the weapon types. I mean, they have, I think, 6 different types, and there's really no real difference between any of them, which is really disappointing. But like you said, we have been very negative. I did also want to give some praise, actually, to the thing that you just mentioned, to the touch controls. I did find that the controls, in general, were very well done. I thought it was very easy to control. I thought it was very smartly laid out. And actually, this was one game where I really liked the implementation of the touch controls. I liked having potions and the rage meter activation and that kind of stuff on the screen, because I gotta say, in Monster Hunter, sometimes it was a little frustrating when you're really in a pinch or you're really in a bad spot, and you gotta fiddle with it a little bit to get to the potion that you want, or if you want to switch your items really quickly. I always thought that could have been done a little more elegantly, and to me, I think that's really Ragnarok Odyssey's. That's where they get it right. I think they understand how to control it, how to design, how to use the Vita's design, and honestly, this is exactly how I would like to see a Monster Hunter control, like have like the same stuff on the screen, and the other stuff being controlled by the sticks and all that. I think it was very tactily satisfying. So I do want to give praise to the team for that.
Yeah, and it's actually that's actually might be very curious about the next Monster Hunter game that will come out, which is Monster Hunter Ultimate, 3 Ultimate, which will be on Wii U, which also might have, it will have touchscreen controls. Parts of the interface will be on the touchscreen of the Wii U. So I'm kind of interested in if that will work just as well or translate just as well as it works in Ragnarok Odyssey.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny you bring that up too, because up until really recently, I did not really have any interest in getting a Wii U, and I figured, for game reviewing purposes, I would get one eventually. But as soon as they announced Monster Hunter Ultimate, was it 3 Ultimate? I'm like, oh god, okay, so now I got to buy a Wii U right away, and I'm like, oh damn it, I didn't want to buy that, but now I got to buy it. So to me, that is the reason to get a Wii U. So I will definitely be getting that in March. I think it comes out. So yeah, hopefully the touch controls will be as good or better than what we see here in Ragnarok Odyssey.
So that being said, any kind of closing thoughts? What kind of person do you think would Ragnarok Odyssey appeal to?
Oh man, that's a very difficult question to answer while maintaining political correctness. Honestly, I think that if you're the kind of player who just likes to grind, and you just want a game where you just want to mash, something that's very simple, and you want a time waster, this might be a good one for you. I mean, it controls well, and if you have a Vita that you don't have any games for, and you like this kind of Japanese RPG kind of flavor to the design, and you just want something very simple on the go, I mean, I think it would serve that purpose pretty well. But if you want something a little deeper or something with a little more variety, I think you might want to stay away.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Like, it won't fill the Monster Hunter-shaped hole totally. It won't just even begin to fill the Monster Hunter-shaped hole if you have a Vita user. But I don't know. I can imagine, like, if you're somebody who doesn't mind the repetitive, like, button mashing kind of play style, if you kind of can zone out in this kind of game, then there might be some joy to have there. Like, there are some redeeming qualities, perhaps, with it can be very satisfying to use the frenzy mode in like a room full of enemies and just smash everybody and then like create like just the right combo to wreak like massive damage. So there is, if you enjoy this kind of mashing and creating combos and just fighting the same monster over and over again, you don't mind fighting the same monsters over and over again, then this game might actually work for you. However, Monster Hunter, it certainly is not.
Yeah, not at all, unfortunately. So, oh well, they tried.
Yes, they did. All right. So if you have other comments or opinions, then you can certainly post them in the comment section video below, and we will probably post also. I will probably record some demo missions to let you know just how the game looks like and how a typical mission in this game plays out. And otherwise, I would like to thank you, Brad, for coming to us and being here with us today.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure to be on this podcast and to record with you again. I always look forward to it, and I do enjoy your show. So thank you for having me on, and I hope to be on again some point in the future.
Oh, yes, definitely. Can you please shortly mention where people can find your stuff?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter. It's my name, BradGallaway. W-A-Y. Everybody wants to put an O in my name, but there's no O's. It's all A's.
I'm going to spell it in the video.
You can also read my reviews at GameCritics.com. I'm the senior editor there, and I also blog somewhat frequently at Drinking Coffee Cola, all one word, at .blogspot.com.
Excellent. And when is your review going up on Game Critics?
As a matter of fact, I'm going to be submitting it tonight, but we actually have a number of our staff in New York, and so with the hurricane that just happened, we're actually really delayed because of the conditions there. I think one of our staff members, last time I checked, was without electricity.
Oh, wow.
And one of our other staff members actually works for the Red Cross, and so he's up to his armpits in taking care of the emergency needs. So we're a little bit backed up right now in terms of posting things, but my review is done. I will send it in for publication tonight. It probably will be another, a couple days or so at the minimum. So, a couple days from now.
All right, excellent. Okay, so I guess we will say goodbye now, and we will see each other next time when we are maybe on a podcast, or maybe when another Ragnarok Odyssey game comes out.
or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Thank you very much, Krystian. It is always a pleasure.
Thank you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.